Hi, this is Rebecca. This is my lesson plan called Stone Soup Festival. I decided to do this lesson because it captures so many different aspects of reading. The kids will really focus on reading folk tales and studying the characteristics and the morals of folk tales, but they'll also have an opportunity to practice their reading fluency, their comprehension, their comparing and contrasting. So my overview basically just says that kids will be paired up. They will be paired by their reading levels, and then when you make a decision about which stories each pair is going to read, you can choose the books that best match their reading level. It's a lesson that would work well for grades 3 through 5. It's a standard lesson, but it probably takes about a week to do. The initial lesson um, is when they actually get to read, but then every day you let the pairs of students orally read their story out loud in order to do the whole class comparing and contrasting. So some of the things that you will need in order to do it is chart paper and markers to keep track of your comparing and contrasting. If you choose to do the festival at the end, which is the best part, making sure you have a crock pot or a couple of them, and then choosing the ingredients that you want for your festival. And here I listed all of the different versions of the stone soup that I've used. They're all different levels, they're all told in a different way and have different characteristics. I am lucky to have all these versions because I've done this unit before, but you can take them out from your local library, and you can also double up certain books with, you can have more than one copy for different partners. I have a Stone Soup story map that I gave each partnership when they start their lesson and they start reading their story, and I have that below that I can show you. More of the materials and technology, and thanks for Jen for pointing out that I forgot to include this part when I was posting it. Basically, the theories just say that kids can use folk tales for a lot of different reasons. It helps them to study genre, elements of stories. Um, Learning about the morals is important. Folk tales are usually short, so kids who are not your generally students who are engaged in reading might find them interesting. Um, they have a lot of values that the kids can learn. And what I like best about this project is that they can bring their moral of their story to life through the festival at the end, which I think is the most important part. I have the NCTE IRA standards 1, 2, 3, 9, 11, 12, which is really nice because this lesson fits into so many of the different standards that they have. And I also was able to find the Common Core standards for grades 3 through 5, which is our grade band. And these standards focus more on folktales and comparing and contrasting themes within folktales, which is really what you end up doing by the end. This website I included is good if you want to use it as more of an extension activity, but basically you want to get all your versions of Stone Soup that you're going to use. You want to partner your students prior to the lesson, prepare an anchor chart so that you can start writing down the characteristics of folktales. And in my school, we have to have a permission slip to do any sort of work with food in the classroom. So I had that prepared as well. So I'll go through very briefly how you get yourself ready and then what you actually do. So you want to give the students, you want to tell them what their partners are. I read this one version of Stone Soup from the book Stone Soup for the World by Marion Learned. It's very short and it's very broad, so the kids don't get a lot of details from it, but it gives them an overview of what the story is going to be about, and they can always come back to that as a basis. So I do that as a quick read aloud. We make an anchor chart about what do we know about the characteristics of folk tales and what do we want to learn about. And then I go over the directions for the story map, and each partnership goes off to read with their partners. When they're finished, they complete the story map. Then for the next 3 to 4 days, you want to let the students read their story out loud to the class. And as they're reading, the rest of the students are keeping in mind how the version they just heard was similar and different to the version that they read. We keep these similarities and differences on the anchor chart, and then we start to compare the morals of the story and what do we start to learn when we read all these different versions. I also like to keep a running list of the ingredients in the soup because they get to compare ingredients that are used in different cultures, and that's a huge part of folk tales. And then the very last day is actually making the soup. So I have different students bring in a different ingredient. It's usually just vegetables and chicken broth. And then we put everything in the morning and we talk about how what we're doing relates to the moral. I set their desks up so they're in one long banquet style table. We let it cook all day, and then at the end of the day, we have a celebration. And I've had students make posters that had the moral of the story on it and we hung them up, or we've talked about how we can contribute to the greater community and how things are better when everybody pitches in, and that's really what they get from it. You can assess this in many different ways. You can assess their fluency when they actually read out loud. You can assess their comprehension by how well they're able to express the moral of the story. Like I said, the moral poster they can use. You can check their understanding by their story map that they do, and also they can create a Venn diagram at the end, and they can pick two versions of any stone soup that they either read or heard, and they can compare the similarities and differences, including the theme, which is where it really relates to the Common Core. Other resources is a choral reading strategy guide, an interactive story map if you want to include more of the technology in there. And then this is just a photograph of the moral posters that my students created, and I have the pictures of the front cover, and then that's of each of the books, and then that's my stone soup in the middle. So they've all come up with what they thought the moral was, and then they have to decorate it in an interesting way. So that's my Stone Soup Festival, and it's a really fun, engaging lesson to do with the students. It's one of my favorite things I do with my kids all year, and it hits so many of the standards. I hope you like it.